Hit the lights!
You've discovered the Half Watt Podcast. We want to educate and entertain by tapping into the most trusted source of new technology, the ones installing and innovating it. You, the tradespeople that build from the ground up. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, veteran contractors, and even some young blood.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. So today we're talking with Daniel Spencer. He's an ELO1, which is a Washington high voltage electrician. Daniel, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm out of California.
What?
Yeah.
I thought I have ELO1. So did you work in Washington or
No,
are you?
never have.
Okay, my bad. My bad. You know what? That's because I just got high voltage.
Yeah.
And I assumed. I made an assumption.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm a born inbred through the city, LADWP. Went to their apprenticeship.
Well, tell me about that. What city are you working in? Where are you at?
I'm in city of Los Angeles.
Nice.
Yeah.
From
Yeah,
San Diego, so I get it.
Okay. Yeah, it's beautiful out here.
You've been there your whole life or what?
Southern California. No, I moved down here when I was in 7th grade, and I was raised up north in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay. So I was born in Berkeley and then raised in San Diego. And
Exactly.
I lived there till I was just a wee lad. Well, I can't tell you what was going on in 1964 in Berkeley. That's probably who knows what.
I watched the movies.
Yeah, exactly. So, my dad was going to UCV. That's what was happening. My mom went to the Greyhound bus depot. So then we went to San Diego, which we really were from there. And then I went in the Navy, spent years in the Navy, and got out, and then came up to Portland, and I've been up here ever since. So.
All right.
Yeah. So, okay, so you have a lot of motivational things on your Instagram. So tell me about yourself. Tell me besides the fact that you were from the Bay Area and you now live in LA. Tell me about you.
I'm a life coach on the side. I started a coaching business apart from my full-time job, high voltage cable splicer. I went through a whole body transformation about 5 years ago. I was about 265, 270. Before that, I was almost 300 pounds. About 13 years ago. Yeah, I was drinking every day, eating like crap, and just gained a bunch of weight.
300? You weighed 300 pounds?
Close to it, yeah, like 295.
Damn.
Yeah.
So what did you do? I mean, did you go to the classes first, or did you just say, "Screw it, I'm just going to start working out"? How'd you make your transformation?
It started with getting sober.
Really?
I started getting
So you're
getting sober.
drunk too. How's that working out for you?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. A whole lot better now.
How long did you drink?
I used to drink since I was probably about 13.
Yeah, I was 14 when I started.
Yeah.
And when did you quit?
When it was February 6th, 2011.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Well played.
Yeah, Super Bowl 45.
I did 18 years of sobriety the first time I went back out. It sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. And then I've been sober for, I think, 11 years since then. So.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, man. It's a one foot in front of the other, right?
Yeah.
And it's a drinking is, I can't describe it. I when I tell people, and I'm very open about it because I teach, I say, look, I'm a drunk. You get me drunk and we'll be driving a school bus full of kids through a church. That's just the way it goes. And so I just don't partake at all.
Right.
And that whole experience of alcohol, it's like if even near beers and stuff like that, you can feel that switch engage. And once it's in, there's no amount of alcohol that I can't consume and screw my life over with.
That's why I've never tried it. I never even dabbled with it. I didn't want to have that trigger in my head and revert back.
I'm hip. So you were drinking, eating, not taking care of your body, and you were an electrician at that point, or were you working through the process?
At that time I was in the apprenticeship.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in the apprenticeship. I started off as a groundman for the utility out here in Los Angeles. And I was at that position for about 5 years, joined the apprenticeship. And that's kind of where the drinking turned up. I was actually electrocuted when I was, when I was a fourth step, me and another apprentice. we were in an electrical vault, and he made full potential contact, 2,700 volts phase to ground. I came to potential, grounded out on my leg, and after that, I was just the drinking increased, because of I was scared to go back to work. I was self doubt, not really dealing with it right emotionally. Right, I kept everything in, and I put it all on the bottom of the bottle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So then soon after that, I had a realization. Super Bowl 45. I quit drinking, and right after that, I changed my diet. I started taking food from home to work,
Okay.
and I lost about 60 pounds. Lost about
Just
60
just
pounds.
changing basic lifestyle stuff.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I never joined a gym or anything at that time. It was just all the overconsumption of junk food and alcohol. And I stayed at that weight for quite a while, about 5 or 6 years,
Okay.
260. And finally, me and my wife joined a gym. It was like a transformation camp style gym where you pay $500. They give you a challenge. You lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks. I crushed every single challenge I took.
Nice.
Yeah, I got down to about 185, and I just stayed there as a member. I stayed there for about 3 years, learned a whole lot about meal prepping and how to build workouts, and I just kept that going.
So let me back up a little bit. So people don't realize how much sugar is in alcohol.
Oh,
That's one thing for sure. That beer. I was a big beer drinker. So beer is like you drinking 6-pack of beer, you're eating a loaf of bread and wondering how come you're gaining all this weight. So
right.
so alcohol has a lot of sugar in it. Obviously, it's alcohol as well. Plus, you can't metabolize it, and it's a depressant.
Yeah.
And it takes like about 30 days for it to come out of your system to where you go, wow, that's a hell of a cycle to release yourself from. When you detoxed a little bit and started to realize that, did you feel better about not drinking after a while? Like where was the transition when you went, okay, I feel like I made a right decision? Because it's not usually right the day you quit. It's usually
Yeah. I think it was probably about a month or two after I quit drinking when I had got together with family and friends.
okay.
And that's when I was open about it, actually,
So you started being more true to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. When people were asking, hey, you want a drink? And I started saying no. And later on that day, what's up? What's going on? And then finally I just told them, my dad was the first one I actually told.
Excellent.
And I told them,
And they supported you, right? I mean,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah, they did.
Okay, so I've told people this too, that when you quit drinking, give yourself at least 30 days, because that's when it takes about that long for everything to come out of your system and for you to start to feel like you've made some accomplishment somewhere, and then you'll start kind of feeling better about you, and then start the transitions that also need to happen.
Yeah, I found myself seeking something, right? I needed something to fill that gap. I started hiking a lot.
Okay.
I started hiking quite a bit. And like every other weekend, I'd go for a hike right here in the San Bernardino mountains.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I mean, that's what addicts need, right? I mean, you're going to rip the Band-Aid off of that wound. You have to have something positive to fill it up.
I was going to say, so you chose to become athletic. That was, and I was a runner for a long time, so you could feel like the more I ran, the longer I ran. I would run 10Ks 3-4 times a week. I mean,
oh, wow.
I wouldn't run them like professional 10Ks. I would just run 6.6 miles.
Yeah.
It was not a big deal for me to run 2-3 times, 4 times a week, whatever I needed to. I would run all the time until I couldn't run, until my knees were like, okay, well, you've run that course. Do something different. And I got into bike riding. So.
Yeah, I used to run quite a bit. Even when I was overweight, I didn't do it that often because I would gas out, but I enjoyed it. I always enjoyed it.
Gas out.
Yeah, I couldn't last too long.
That's a good phrase. I'm going to steal that from you.
Yeah. But I mean, you get this, they say that you get the runner's high. It's 100% true.
It is.
You start getting in your head and you start answering these questions that you've been asking yourself all along. And you get these moments of clarity.
And it was always the push to go further and further and further, and not I think one time I got to where I was running 8 miles every once in a while. That wasn't a big deal. And then I ran 13 one day, and I just came back on the couch and just curled up in a ball and went, that was dumb. I was ill-prepared for that. But in the Navy, we had guys who were triathletes who'd say, well, look, if you could run 6, you could run 12.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of pushing yourself to do it. And I was like, okay, but I'm not a SEAL, and that's just not me. So
Yeah. Yeah, I found myself in flow state every time I go for at least a 2 or 3 mile run.
yeah, no,
That's pretty nice.
it definitely helps. Did you do AA, or are you still in it, or what'd you do for that?
I went through Kaiser's substance abuse program. So it was just everybody was in there grouped in for everything, alcohol, pills, opiates, heroin, whatever, there was a lot of crazy stories in there. And that's kind of when I had that realization. And I told myself, you have a great career ahead of you. You have a beautiful young family. You're just weak. You're just acting like a bitch. It's exactly what I told myself. I go, these people in here have real hard addictions. And they've hit really rock bottom. I mean, I hit what I felt was my rock bottom. I put my kids in danger, and that was enough for me to finally wake up.
Okay. And then you just put one foot in front of the other until you look behind you, you get all this sobriety, and then you go forward and go, well, I don't need that shit.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what the counselor told me. He goes, you can't rationalize. I just have 4 drinks or 3 drinks. He goes, you have no control.
You have no control.
It's absolutely zero. No drinks every day.
They found out that there's a feedback loop in drinkers that doesn't happen. So, if you go to the edge of a building, you're a utility man, so you're up on a pole. You look down, you're 100 foot up in the air, and you go, that's dangerous. You got your safety harness on. You know all the equipment. You know the risks. So other people are like, well, I'm afraid of heights. I can never get up there. Well, if you work in heights and you've got the right equipment, it's not a big deal. Like you're used to it. It's just not there. But if you could imagine where you didn't have that fear of heights at all, especially if you drank or something like that, or if it just happened, it's that feedback loop, that fear that, keeps you on edge. When you get up there, you're like, yeah, I'm not afraid of falling, but I know I trust my equipment. When you drink, you don't have that. That loop is gone. That feedback loop is gone. And it immediately goes within an ounce or 2 of alcohol, it's gone. And that once that feedback loop is gone, that's when your brain goes, well, shit, man, the world's my oyster, off we go. Yeah. And that's last time I went to quit, it took 11 goddamn months to quit. Wow. 11 freaking months. And I really, really, really struggled with it. And I finally figured it out. Now that they say that, this feedback loop, once that made sense to me, I was like, oh, okay, this is just like any other goddamn addiction. I'll just, just not do that, and then we won't have the issue, and that was it. Right. That's all it took. Oh, man, I'm proud of you. So tell me, you took a 2,700 volt hit. Holy cow, what did that feel like?
It felt like the inside, it felt like my arms were on fire from the inside out.
God.
We were sitting on a box. I was sitting on a toolbox. We were on rubber blankets for insulation, luckily. And the people that were watching us down in the hole, they said we both stood up. I don't remember any of that. They said we both stood up and then just fell back. I remember I blacked out for like a quick second. I saw like this tunnel with the ball of flame, and then the next thing I was leaning back and my arms were shaking, and I just kind of like, what the hell happened? And then I was like, dude, you know exactly what happened. I started checking my nose and my mouth for blood, and I was telling myself in my head, relax, breathe. I was scared I was going to go into shock, right?
Yeah, and that's a good call.
Yeah, so I was just in my head mentally telling myself, try and lower your heart rate, calm down, breathe, you're alive, everything's fine. My partner was holding his hand. It was charred gray, and he just kept saying, I need to go to the burn center. I need to go to the burn center. And I didn't need any skin grafts. There were 3.
You didn't get third-degree burns. He did, but you did.
I did get third-degree burns, but they weren't big enough to require skin grafts.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
And and that was just my self-talk, right? Because when we had the tailgate during the job, it was a temporary splice that we were taping up. Though the seniors were taping up, and we were just putting waterproof tape over it. And during the tailgate, I asked, how are we going to connect this? And it was 2-bolt clamp, right? 500 bus with the number 6 with the 500 KVS 2-bolt clamp. And in my head, I was thinking, well, when they tape that up, there's going to be a whole lot of bolts sticking out of there. But I never said anything, right? And that's what made me most angry about that whole situation, was because I didn't speak up. I knew what the
You knew
proper
the risk.
Yeah, I knew the risk. I knew that I had maybe a better idea, and I didn't speak on it. And it ended up.
What would the right way to have
We
insulated?
have number 16 wrapping wire. That's what I was going to say. Well, why don't we just use some number 16 wrapping wire? We can wrap it on there, mouse it down really tight, nice and clean, tape it up the same way, and we won't have those 2 big old bolts sticking through. That's what I should have said.
Yeah. And how many years ago was this?
That was 2010, August 2010.
Okay, so quite a while ago, 13.
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago.
And then right after that, about 6 months after that's when I quit drinking.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
What a great story, man.
Oh, it gets better.
Okay, keep going, because
Yeah.
you've got me.
So I go through the apprenticeship. I finished the apprenticeship. I'm a journeyman for about 9.5 years. Promote to senior cable splicer, which is now the position where we get to work hot in the hole, right? Single phase, 2770 volts phase to ground. And we do hot work down there. And so it's April 27th, 2021, just over 2 years ago. We were working down in a vault with a link box. It's a 4-way link box with their solid blades to connect the center bus to the cable that comes in upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right position, right? 3 phases per position. And this was like a non-switchable box. So the department made this single pole oil switch with 2 leads that come down, and you stab them onto the blades. You close the switch, you fan the blade out, right? And you break load under the switch, the oil switch that's up on the street level. You open up the blade, open up the switch, it de-energizes that phase.
Okay.
So we had a job to de-energize the upper right position. And the way we're trained is if you're going to de-energize the upper right, then you work on the upper left position, right? And it's A phase, B phase, C phase. So we were working in a 4x6 vault, and the link box was up kind of high on the wall. So we had a 4-foot A-frame ladder, and I talked to my partner. I said, hey, if we have another 4-footer down here, it's going to be in a bad position. I said, I'll work the lower left position. You de-energize the upper right. And he says, okay. And then that was the last of it, right? And when we have a change of plans, we're supposed to call an all stop. We tailgate with everybody. Hey, this is what we're going to do now. We changed the plan. We didn't do that. And then communication, for whatever reason, just stopped right there. We operated the first position, the first operation where we opened up A phase. And my partner moved his cover from B phase to A phase. So now he has B phase open. And right after he had removed the blade, he hands me the blade and the removal tool. And while I'm putting that in the nose bag, he moves his cover. And I kind of see him out of the corner of my eye do that. So I grab my lead, I put it back on A phase. His lead is on B phase. And I said, hey man, are you good? He's, yeah, all right. So I told him to close the switch, and the close the switch, the single oil pole switch. And it just cross phases 4,800 volts right in my face.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 4,800 volts. It was gnarly. It was gnarly. Worst part about it is that the circuit breaker that that we were working on, for the circuit we were working on, it failed. It failed instantly. So instead of shutting off instantly, it took the high side breakers in the station 2 full seconds. It took 2 full seconds of that thing cooking.
What was your arc fault at that point? I mean, do you know?
It was 4,500 amps of fault current.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it took.
In a small void.
Yeah, 4x6. I was standing right about, we measured it all out. The center of the lead that I was holding was right at eye level. about 11 and a half inches from my face. I had safety glasses, hard hat, face shield, 2 layers of FR. I had a pretty thick hoodie underneath. We were working in the middle of the night, and some coveralls. And while this whole thing is going off in my face, man, time just slowed down so quick. And I was like, man, is this like, why aren't you dropping down to the floor?
So 2 seconds is going by it, and it's like now you're moving
fucking forever.
At almost at the speed of light, because you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And it finally shuts off. You know, I had this thought in my head, like, man, if this thing doesn't shut off, you're going to die. And then everything just went quiet. Everything went black. Cause it went through all 3 phases. It started like with an A to B, B to C, and then A to C. It just burned through all 3 phases. Everything went black. Everything was quiet. And for a half second, man, it was just like peace. And then my chest was burning from all the smoke inhalation. So I take my face shield and I remove it, throw my safety glasses off, and my coveralls are still on fire. They're like in flames. So I had we have gloved hands, rubber gloves with gauntlet keepers. So I pat the fire out, call for the ladder, and I climb out of there. And we have these burn gel masks. They're like burn gel they're like gauzes that are impregnated with like a water gel. Yeah. So they got one, put it on my face. A couple minutes later,
a lot of UV burning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just thermal. I mean,
yeah, it was instant cooling, and I started taking photos right away. I sat on the bumper and I asked one of the guys, I go, "How's my face look?" You know, and I had long hair, full beard, and they were like, "Oh, you're still handsome." Man, I was never handsome, you know, just happy to be alive, right? Talking shit still. So I started taking photos.
Typical work guys. Oh, you look great.
Yeah. You look great, man. No worries. So yeah, I ended up spending 10 nights in the burn center. I had 2 skin graft surgeries.
Gosh.
2 skin graft surgeries, and I was off of work for 5 months. And during those whole 5 months, it was just a whole lot of reflection, you know, the type of worker that I thought I was, self-doubt, guilt because my other partner, he got burned on his arm. And I was just kind of rethinking my whole career, you know, like, dude, I was scared. I was scared to go back. My wife didn't want me to go back. She was like, what the fuck? This is the second time.
Yeah.
You know, like,
she's been with you for both of you. How many kids do you have?
I have 2. Okay. 18-year-old and my son's 14.
Yeah.
And, so this whole time I'm off, I'm thinking like, what can I do? Like, I have a friend who retired from the post office, and he's in real estate, right? And I'm like, I could learn that. I could do that. Yeah. And I didn't really take the steps to implement anything. I ended up going to counseling. I got a psychologist and to help with the nightmares and stuff. So I get back to work.
So you have, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Yeah. You're dealing with PTSD at this point.
Yes.
I mean, because of this is the second time this has occurred. You walked away from this essentially fairly damaged, but okay. Did you lose any vision or anything like that?
No, that was nothing.
Wow,
nothing.
Man.
Yeah, the PPE that we wore, it saved.
It was right. Life. It was spot on. I show my students the arc fault. I show my students and I'll go back to where you're at. I show my students a guy who at a Weyerhaeuser plant in South Carolina or North Carolina, one of those two. He basically goes to meter out a hog motor, and it's a 2700, and he goes phase to phase, and it just burns him. It burns him up completely. And he's taken like a basically a fluke, and he thinks he's on 600, but he's not. He's on 27. And he just goes like phase A to C, right across it. And the description, and then I show him the arc fault videos of exactly where when you're wearing the suit, of how much how much how fast the arc flash is, the amount of BTUs that are coming out, having the wrong clothing on, what happens when you have the right clothing on, all that stuff. So I'm pretty familiar with it.
Yeah.
But I'm also a limited energy electrician. So I'm like,
yeah, that's the only thing that didn't get burned on my face was right here.
Yeah.
My eyebrows got singed a little bit, but I didn't have any burns here to here. My nose, I don't know if you can see like the discoloration.
Yeah, the discoloration there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man, I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, thanks.
So you've got some PTSD you're dealing with. So you go to see a psychologist and sit down and kind of talk about what happened then.
They kind of just helped me realize, like, even though I was holding a whole lot of the blame, I held myself 100% responsible, right? Okay. And they were like, well, I mean, you weren't the only one down there. You had a partner who didn't communicate with you as well. There was just a whole bunch of different things leading up. And then she says, just think about what you did right, though, afterwards. Mm-hmm. Don't focus so much on the negative. Focus on the rescue after, how you handled it and what you did to make sure everyone else is. Because my other partner was still down there. And I'm like, dude, where is he? What is he doing? Let's get out. And also when I got back to work, they had just finalized the investigation. And they asked me if I wanted to go with them for the safety meeting at the yard I worked at. And it just clicked in my head. And I said, you know what, I'll go to every single meeting. If my supervisor will let me go with you guys, I said, I'll go to every single safety meeting that you're holding and I'll talk about my accident. Okay. And they agreed and we did it. And I spoke after they presented the accident, the cause and the aftermath. And I just spoke about it, just like we're doing right here. I talked about what led up to it, how I felt.
It helps you in your trauma, right? It's also a part of your therapy,
Yeah.
to kind of talk about it and get that out and not hold it in.
It did, absolutely. And one of the things that my therapist had suggested to me also was journaling. Mm-hmm. Journaling, whatever, how I felt about that or whatever's going on here at home. And I still do it every morning to this day.
Good.
And that helped me up. Like you said, it helped me. It helped. That was part of my healing process. But also going back into the gym, I'd wake up with a nightmare in the middle of the night and I'd go in the garage and just work out, and I'd work out and I'd hit sets and I'd tell myself, like, when I start to get tired or the muscles start to get fatigued, and I'd just close my eyes and I would imagine myself next to my gurney in my hospital room, putting myself there while I'm doing the workout, telling myself, like, what you're doing right here doesn't hurt as much as how it hurt then, so keep pushing.
Right. Excellent.
Keep going. Yeah. And I got some pretty good size, gained a lot of good weight. And then I just kind of wanted to help other people the same way, what I went through. I found a coach online who showed me how to use Instagram as the tool for that, Okay. So I already had my Instagram page up. It's Reps and Double Time. And I was just doing work. I was just posting work stuff and, some workouts that I would do at the gym I was at. And I never really had a whole lot of followers. And then once he says, your journey is a whole lot more than just your body transformation. Mm-hmm. He says you could inspire a whole lot of people, not just in your trade, but anybody that follows you. You overcame alcoholism. My parents divorced when I was in 6th grade, and it took a huge toll on me. I was like, I was a little depressed. Of course, I was heartbroken, dealt with a lot of loneliness. Everything. My drinking led to me almost getting divorced. And he goes, bro, you beat all of those things. He says,
you did.
You beat it. Yeah. The mind transformation, because my mindset was just full of self-doubt, even before this accident, And now after that, after overcoming that and sharing my story, my ego burned away that night. That's what I tell everybody. They're like, dude, how can you share all these things on Instagram and with who knows who's watching? I go, what am I going to be scared of? What am I scared of?
Yeah. Why not? Why not be open?
Why not be open?
There's a billion people being closed. Honestly,
Yeah.
So I'm an alcoholic, right? Recovering and moved on with my life. I also buried both of my kids and went
Oh,
through all that trauma there.
sorry.
Mother committed suicide. I've been through all kind of batshit in my life. Did the same thing. Saw a number of counselors, and eventually saw a woman here in Oregon that had a PhD, and she was brilliant. I mean, she really, 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 really helped me get a hold of myself, and so I understand exactly what you've done and how and where you've come from. And I don't think when I tell people that, they go, "Oh God, I'm so sorry." Well, I appreciate it, but don't worry about it. Like I've dealt with this.
Yeah.
I've been through the grief. I've been through all of those stages, and you probably have experienced this too. Time. You cannot go back in time and change anything. Like there's nothing back there that you can change. Or you can learn from it. You can change events as you move forward because you're making decisions that are better for you and better for other people. But you can't go back and alter what the hell's happened. It's just impossible. And so all you can do, all you can change is you. That's it. You're the only thing in this equation that's the variable is what you do and how you do it and how you affect others.
Yeah.
And it's become my life's, it's my philosophy. It's who I am. It's one of the reasons I do this podcast, and it's one of the reasons I teach. I don't teach because it makes me $1 million. I teach because I want my students to eclipse me. I want them to be better than me. I want them to kick my ass when they get out here and they do this job.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are. They're nice at threes and they're moving up and they're doing their thing. I couldn't be any more pleased. If one person learned something from me and moved forward and made a positive change in their life, that's it. I can die a happy man. But if I can affect 100, then that's just icing on the cake.
That's exactly
if I can
right.
affect 1,000, then that's even more icing on the cake. And I don't give two shits about anything else. I don't give a shit about how people see me, or you're weak, or you're strong, or you've done all these things. Bullshit. You would have gone if you had lost your kids. You would have done and drank yourself into oblivion, or suffered all this shit and worked your way through it. You'd be in the same goddamn boat.
Yeah.
You got the same exact spirit, and I love that about you. You're absolutely like, nah, man, this is me. This is. Let me help you. Let me help you with the next steps, so that you don't have to make the same goddamn mistakes I made. You can just be free of this shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that at the safety meetings, because one of the last photos that I showed was after my second surgery. Like I said, I was taking photos the whole way. After the first surgery, I woke up in the hospital bed and I grabbed my phone and I took a photo. After the second surgery, I woke up and I grabbed my phone and I took a photo. And I would look at that photo all the time, even after when I'd be back at work or in the middle of a workout and I wanted to quit, I'd pop that photo open and I'd stare at it, because that right after that surgery, that's the one that hurt the most,
Mm-hmm.
And in the safety meetings, I gave them about 6 photos and I said, show this one last. And when the photo would be up there on the big screen and I'd turn back and I'd look at it and I'd just stare at my eyes, because all the pain that I know I was holding inside. And I'd look back at everybody in the audience and I'd tell them, you stare at this photo and close your eyes and ingrain it in your brain. And think of the pain that I'm holding in my eyes. I go, use my pain as your teaching lesson, right? Use me as your reason to not take shortcuts, to not, try and rush a job, right? Because if we don't take the steps that are necessary to communicate well or wear the proper PPE, I said, this could be used. So use my mistake as your lesson.
Brilliant. Stroke of brilliance, man. And you're still in the trade.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and now you're life coaching, so you're taking that and you parlayed it into probably a second career, uh,
Yes. Yeah.
which helps.
It does. It's absolutely helping. My clients are mostly blue collar.
Hmm.
They're mostly blue collar, and they come with, you know, problems of overeating, right? Some drinking problems, and it's mostly just due to everybody saying I don't have the time to meal prep, or they don't know what their proper macros are to burn fat and still build muscle. They don't know how to properly work out. So I use a couple of apps that gives you the workouts with videos. I set up their nutrition plan, and we have meetings every week. And I can go and check to see if they're over on fats or if they're under on protein. And hey, man, let's try this out. Let's switch this up, right? And they're getting great results.
Is that therapeutic to continue to help these folks? Like,
It
I would
is.
assume it is.
It is absolutely. When I was in the hospital, I was I was blaming myself. I had a whole lot of self doubt, and because I was by myself. It was during COVID, and I didn't have any visitors all day until 3. Visiting hours were for 3 to 8, so all day, around the clock, breathing treatments and stuff. So I
God,
had a whole lot of I had a
yeah.
whole lot of reflection time, right? A whole lot
And
of
so you're sitting
isolation.
around, and yeah, and COVID did just that. You're
Yeah,
sitting around with that on top of it, so you can't even see your wife or your kids.
right. That was one of the hardest parts was doing a Zoom call and watching my family through the window in the parking lot, right? You've seen those videos, and that was rough. But I had this realization, like, this happened to you because of all the shit you used to do. I believe that this was karma getting back at me because when after my parents divorced, I was hurt,
Hmm.
and I use hurting other people as my excuse, I guess. I would put people down. I would lie to people, steal from people, and it was, to me, that was a huge wake up call. So now I know I believe in karma, and it states that what you give to the world, you're going to get back. So if I continue to do good things for other people,
Hmm.
then good things will happen for me, and hopefully they will happen for my family. And if I keep repaying this debt that I feel I owe is a huge one, then hopefully nothing bad will happen to my family or anybody that I love, anybody that I care about. So
Nice.
people ask me all the time, dude, like, why do you get up so early to work out? Because after work I have to come home and be a husband. I have to come home and be a
So,
father.
so what time do you get up to work out?
I get up at 2:45.
Okay. And what
I
time do you
get
go to bed?
like around 10, ten
Okay.
thirty sometimes.
Yeah, I go to bed about 9:30 or 10:30. It depends on I'm up at 3. And I
Uh,
and I drive to a specific spot in Portland and I ride my bike. I work up on a hill. So I ride my bike up the hill and ride it back down.
yeah,
And then, drive back home. And then I work all day and help, tools wherever I got to. The place I work at's gargantuan. So I can, sometimes I just sit on my ass and program for weeks at a time. Sometimes I'm out in the field,
yeah.
putting shit in. So it depends on what my job is. But
And the
and that
work never stops. And then
never
you do
stops.
this, and
Hmm. I
yeah,
do this and I teach, and I'm an equestrian, so I ride horses.
awesome.
Um, got grandkids, and I got remarried, and the whole 9 yards. I was married for 28 years and I divorced late, and then married somebody that really cares for me, and it
Yeah,
really changed my life to have somebody in my life. So your wife has stayed with you through all this shit. How long you guys been married now? 20 years?
it's we just passed 19 years.
19 years.
Yeah,
So 19 years she's been with you the whole time.
yes,
It hasn't wavered.
absolutely.
And then you see that how that affects you because you think you're somehow like good on your own and you realize that
Yeah,
like we have to complete each other. I hate to quote from Jerry Maguire.
yeah,
You just
um,
complete me, but
yeah. I mean, I tell her all the time. You saved my life. We met, and I was 20 years old. I was, me and my brother had an apartment. He's 2 years older than me. We were drinking, partying every night. I was selling weed, and I met her, and right away I didn't want to leave her side. I didn't want her to leave my side. I instantly fell in love,
So you
and
knew, so you knew that you guys were kind of like soulmates, so to speak.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know how it feels.
She's tried her best. She's done a great job to keep me straight, and I fought. I fought a whole lot, and it just ended up, you know, almost leading myself to my own demise,
Yeah.
just being stubborn. But
Now, did you grow up in San Bernardino, or did you grow up, you know, in the valley? Or where did you grow up at?
yeah, I grew up in the Inland Empire,
Okay, so
San Bernardino, Fontana.
yeah, you're all. So you're basically you've been in the same valley the whole time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been worse. Could have grown up in Compton or something. I mean,
Hey, I mean, it could have been a whole lot worse or it could have been a whole lot better, and that's one thing I tell my kids,
yeah.
I said, there's people out there that have it better than us, and there's people out there that have it worse than us. We just have to make the best of what we have.
Well, I got to tell you that L.A. as a kid growing up watching what was going on in L.A. and San Diego was a microcosm of that. I mean, we had gangs and all that shit too, but it was not like L.A. It was not like L.A. It was bad, but
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad, But we could see, but the influence was. I mean, I went to school with kids that in grammar school were carrying their Snoopy lunch pail, and by junior high school or high school were in prison, and I was like,
Wow.
wow. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I had a kid, a guy I knew went to Fallbrook and shotgunned a kid in the chest, and that was it.
Wow.
And he's, I'm sure he's in prison. It was insane. So, San Diego or California itself is a nice microcosm because growing up and seeing all these cultures, and especially I did a lot of my growing up south of Camp Pendleton and Oceanside, so I knew a lot of different cultures from
Yeah.
Samoan, Filipino, blacks, Mexicans, just everything there was. When you grow up in a culture like that, and then I moved to Louisiana, which was not that way. It was
Yeah.
totally different. I mean,
Right.
it was a complete shell shock. I had no idea what, like, if you grow up with every color in the rainbow, every orientation, surfers and punks and gangbangers and this and that. My first good ass kicking came from a gang, so I get it. And then you go down to this place where it's lily white.
Yeah.
I mean, and there were persons of color in this school, and I walked up to one guy to talk to him, and he's like, "Dude, you can't talk to me. I know you're from
Wow.
California, but you can't talk to me. They'll kill me in this goddamn place." And I'm
Wow.
like, "You have to be shitting me." This was still in the early '80s, and he goes, "No, this is they."
It's
I mean, he
still
was very
very
polite.
segregated.
Yeah, very. At that time, it was very segregated. The year after I graduated, if you want to call it that, they desegregated everything. It just turned into a hell of a fiasco. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I
Wow.
ran my ass back to California. I ran my ass back to San Diego, lived in El Cajon, and surfed every day boogie boarded every day until I joined the Navy. Every day, every freaking day I could. I was in the ocean going, "Oh God, I miss this."
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and then
That,
join the Navy, and then you're right back in, with every culture, every color on the rainbow, and you fit into that in my world, and it was just like, oh, thank God,
and there's only one mission, right? Is to complete the mission and make sure
Yeah.
we're all together and we're all safe.
Yeah, and I mean we had our tough people and some craziness, and the job I did was electronics, so it was not very it was all cerebral for the most
Yeah.
part. It
Oh,
wasn't,
okay.
it was called what we call electronic warfare. So if you had an aircraft or a ship that had radar systems, we looked at the radars, interpreted what they were, decided if it were something we could do, and if we could, we did it. And so I did that, and I did. Deception work, tactical deception work, and I spent almost 9 years doing it. So I became pretty well versed at it. But my drinking took me out. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
oh God, yeah, I went and screwed up and crashed a motorcycle and hurt people, and I was an E6, and I knew that I could probably steer my career and make up for the loss of everything I did And in the first Gulf War broke out, and I just looked up one day, and they were like, well, we know you screwed up, but now we want you to go back overseas and take a van. And I just went, I'm out. I don't want to do this. I came here to kill commies, and now we're not doing that. We've changed the game plan. I'm out. I just got to get the hell out. And I got out. I didn't look back. I missed the camaraderie. I missed the military. I missed the Navy, but I don't miss the bullshit. And I got out and moved up, and I couldn't get a job to save my life. Like at all. Like I wanted
because of did you get a DUI or?
No. It was all encapsulated in the military, and even my evaluations were pretty much, okay at a moment. But then I got sober in the military, so I was like, look, I'm not drinking anymore. You can do whatever you want. But it was, it was still. I was stationed right on Coronado, right where the SEALs. The SEAL Team 1 and 5, I think, were right down the street from us. The Buds Barracks, where they do Hell Week, we were right there in the middle of it. I just wasn't in that field. That wasn't my cup of tea. I was doing something entirely different. And so it was a beautiful command, beautiful people. Everything was hunky dory. I had orders to go to Pearl and teach, and I just said I just can't do this. I just don't want to do it anymore. So when I got out. At that time, in Oregon, you could actually just take the test and use your military experience as part of your apprenticeship and then get a license. So I did. I just parlayed that into getting a license and then had to go out and learn all the that everybody else already knew. And I fell into fire alarms and never left. I think that people are their own worst enemy when TV takes priority over your life.
Yeah.
When Cheetos are your main course.
Yeah, and that was that vicious circle, because I would drink, and I tallied it up after I started using my app to track my foods and track my macros. I was like, let me see what I used to drink, and I tallied it all up. I was drinking over 1,500 calories just in alcohol alone in the day. And then it'd be like 9:30 at night, and I'd get the munchies, and I wouldn't want what's in the fridge. I wanted 2 fucking tacos and some jalapeno poppers, or that was my go-to. 2 tacos. I'd go to Jack in the Box, 2 tacos, 7-piece jalapeno popper.
All fried. Yeah.
All fried.
I get it. I totally get it, man. You're a delight to talk to. Honestly, God, it make my. I have had. I don't know how many of these episodes we've done, 40, 50, something like that. I have met a person here I don't want to have on again, and you definitely I wouldn't want to have on again. Honestly,
absolutely, it'd be a pleasure.
So I want you. We got a few minutes left. I want you to plug your Instagram site so people can find you.
Yeah, my Instagram is reps and double time. REPS and double time, one word.
Okay.
My profile picture is me with a big ass smile and no shirt. I coach people online, help you overcome negative mindset and remove your bad habits and put healthy ones that are going to help you improve your lifestyle, improve your health, and improve the lifestyle and health of everybody around you. Everybody that I touch, I hope they touch somebody else.
How are your kids? How are your kids doing? How out of all this stuff that's happened, they've seen their dad damn near. Well, I guess they were pretty young when you had your first incident, but the second one was, it was traumatic. How are they? Are they well grounded? Are they centered? Are they running amok? Is one out there banging or what?
No, I'm very fortunate. My daughter just graduated high school. She got accepted to UC Santa Cruz, and we'll be taking her up there in September. Straight A's. Both of my kids have straight A's.
Straight A students.
Yeah, my son is. He was in 2 bands in his junior high school. He's in band regiment. He's going to be a freshman next year. He's got a rock band outside with my nephew and a couple of family friends. I couldn't be more blessed, and that's why I can't slip. I can't slip. If I slip, then they're gonna see, dad at his worst. And I was just right before we got on, I was gonna make a post about my son, that he won't remember me at my worst. You know, he won't remember what dad used to smell like, or dad drinking a beer. He won't remember me ever seeing, you know, having an alcoholic drink, or, you know, disrespecting his mother. You know, he's going to see his father, you know, loving his mother and respecting her, and waking up and working hard, and making sure that they have what I never had. And my daughter is, you know, she's going to go to college, and she has a pursuit for film. And we said, you know, you can do whatever you want to do. You know, I make enough money at work. I make enough money with my side business that, you know, we can pay for college, and we can house you up there. And I couldn't be more blessed. And that's one thing. That's why I think I have to keep putting in the work, not just for myself, because everything I do, I show on my Instagram.
Because you're open.
I'm open. And if it's going to help somebody, then I believe that good karma is going to come back and continue to come back on us.
So what your son has got a band. What does he sing, play? What does he play?
He plays bass.
He plays bass.
He plays bass guitar.
Is he going to be our next Red Hot Chili Peppers or what? Come on, be honest.
Oh man, I hope. They had a show. They had a show last night, and they killed it.
What's the name of his band?
Parallel Bloodlines.
Okay.
Yeah, Parallel Bloodlines. Their Instagram is parallel_bloodlines. And he was up there last night, and they've been practicing all week, and he's got these gnarly blisters on his fingers. And
That's what he should have.
They get up there, and it's 2 songs in, and I see him looking down at his fingers like, oh shit. You know, his fingers are raw and they're open, and he's like, Dad, there's blood all over my guitar. And he didn't miss one fucking note, man.
Good.
He was up there rocking it.
Right on his game. So your girl wants to go into film. Couldn't ask for you know, I mean, you can't miss there, right? I mean, the Valley's right there, so you're good to go. He's going to do rock, hopefully. And,
I hope so.
And he's got a lot of talents in that. And there's been no good bands that have ever come out of LA, so you're screwed there.
Right.
I was just jamming to one earlier. So you guys. And does your wife work, or is she a stay-at-home mom, or what does she want to doing?
Yeah, she's a stay-at-home mom. You know, like I said, working in the city, been fortunate enough for her not to have to work. You know? That's
excellent.
Yeah.
You guys are, I'm really proud of you. I really, really am. That is, to be able to navigate through all that with these kids, with your wife, and to come out of that on top of your game. Well, bravo, my friend. You have done
Thank you.
Damn well. Really, thank you for coming, Daniel.
I appreciate you. Thanks.
All right. Tyler, we're good.
Thanks for listening to the Half Watt Podcast. We always want to hear from you, and we encourage you to email us at halfwattpod@gmail.com with questions or even your own stories. Funny, crazy, or praiseworthy, we want to hear it all. You can follow us on Instagram at halfwattpod to stay up to date on our feed. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And share us with a friend, the best way to help us grow. The Half Watt Podcast is a production of Now Hear This Studios.